We want, therefore, to develop our own community and an African personality. Others may feel that they have evolved the very best way of life, but we are not bound, like slavish imitators, to accept it as our mold. If we find the methods used by others are suitable to our social environment, we shall adopt or adapt them. If we find them unsuitable, we shall reject them. Fighters for African freedoms, I appeal to you in the sacred name of Mother Africa to leave this conference resolved to rededicate yourselves to the task of forming among the political parties in your respective countries a broad united front based upon one common fundamental aim and object, the speedy liberation of your territories. Don't let us also forget that colonialism and imperialism may come to us yet in a different guise, not necessarily from Europe. We must alert ourselves to be able to recognize this when it rears its head and prepare ourselves to fight against it. This mid-20th century is Africa's. This decade is the decade of African independence. Forward then to independence now. Tomorrow, the United States of Africa.
Miriam me church will be our basu. Aye. Miriam, so our basu our team can. No, I like a video, no. Remember when you have so be like a video, no. Like a video, no. Na video, no. Into me and conanim. Memo be a rain fish or be like a video, no. I feel young queen. Ene yaba mona so bio na ye no be chensem kituwa bi unse asem we de no ye nka ne bebre na ye nka ne pi eni se waba hase na so pese wote information a bra betena se ni eni nkomo ye be kire okwan ya nkofo bi fo aso a omo magana abedru ba bi a yedru no Sagana bedru ba bi a yedru no a yebebusa amount for positive contributions any amount for negative contributions a amagana etimi aba bedru ba bi a ya bedru no ni yebusa ya ho se ye penisa ana yempe na ede ne bankofo bi adwemu a ema omode yaba bedru mpempenso we no. The Biameka may say man has no nature, what man has is history. Enti I was say a told debut or ye de abakosem edi remu di chewa wo hweme no ene wa wuti mi obabi bia wo enti se uti mi a na ene dwumadi ayi bedi no muhu se mi bo onyansa ni bi kasa sisi ya ansana muhu mi mfoni wo afidie so na emre bi a me pese me kasa onyansa ni ho asem bia no na me re aho esanse ekro bi e wo wiase mu ha no enya saa nipa ni bi na ya cheche saa kuro ni si saa nipa ne na aso na omo di ekuro ni drum pempenso bi a na afi omo agya kuro no honom e di ama na chidifo na empempi no mahwemu ahu sɛ Africa ne ekuro bia onya asa nipa ne bibia no ye ni free ho ye ni free ho no enye saa na tamfo ena yi ni free ho na emom ono ane ho nipa ene ton no eno ne ma agricultural engineer bi a friend Amika Cabral wa unim Amika Cabral ne kasa oka pa French na he fana na odidi djuma he fana na friend ho se oye freedom fighter Amika Cabral na friend ho se oye freedom fighter e wo kro bi a friend no Guinea Bissau ene Cape Verde na se ye kind of tribute Amika Cabral e trofa Kwame Nkrumah ho abra ne ye Kwame Nkrumah yi e wo Conakry. You'll be amazed. Maba ha say no eye den na mede mu befa Amika Cabral ensem a woka fa ye papa Kwame Nkrumah ho no mede mu befa mu kakra na mohu mede mu befa mu kakra na mohu ne wo ho ho na abon se enipa ankasa aseda di o my Ghana boni na ni speech no otunu din say cancer of betrayal eche say eye betrayal ano den na also onsu emma o ma menhwe na memfa emma o na ehu de me pese me kire me pese me kan ma o na ohu ni pepepepepepe na se Kwame James say o time fifie Amika Cabral no we hefa me nyabo chetra se ne twen na se o kind French but se omo translate ade no because of some copyright issues binti na me video no ho but me ntumi nyede enyi nkyeremo so tia ze me yesenk me ye hu adwuma kakra se ne nka metumi ede eyi a kyeremo but me try na mahwe me pese me kan ne pepepe edemamo abenfo ho den ade me yi ato sisi a me mia we ne so a me nsa komiama aya but in the course of the delivery no me kind ya kyeremo me mo bia empaba in the course of delivery no me kind ya kyeremo o de yento aso sans ma ye kan me ka kosi so se enkofo kopi anase enkofo bi abawiase a omonna ye chichire be chichire omansi ho na omagya hoko emfa ho se ekuri betimi aba bedi be 2000 years enso nipa ba akopɛ ene beba sa ensesan no be fa ne so ede aba eno na ye no abibifo no ye mpese ye begye atom eno na ye na bibifo ye mpese ye begye sa asem na atom da krokra da. We just don't want to accept say any nation has to be built by a particular individual. Na mo a mo kwa sorry no, mo a mo ye Christopher, mo a mo ye Muslims no. Se mo nhwe trends bi. Mo Quran ni mo no. Allah wa amfa nipa mienu anni dwuma wo. Da bida. Mo Bible ni mo no. Onyankopon wa amfa nipa mienu anni dwuma da wo. Da bi. Ebre bia no odi nipa baako ene koyi ne nkofo firi hawo mo. Saa nso na Allah edi nipa baako koyi ne nkofo firi hawo mo. Muntie ni ye. But obibini nti ase se adenti na ono ye dihye na wo free atiri na wabeye kese asen no. Nti obebo din, obetu din, nti one otia wabesoma himfi ho. Wo ho ofese ne ma. Unim nyansa sen ne ma. Obegya to no da bi obefro se o donko wi. Na ono so obaada bey. Omon ye fro brofun no ye catch obi se obi ye a reverser and that's a parvenu. Just say someone who recently got to a particular public status be. And your friend say parvenu. And Nkrumah was referred to as a parvenu or an arrivist. Inti mi video mi yeah it blew enkutu page a tongue enkutu edi man Ghana for ni wiase nyina ye a video me ye fa Kwame Nkrumah say see ya na Akufo do wa bobra papa we ain't na person be the president no we are na mo papa no mo ha Nkrumah saa we ain't because of Wenti and na mo papa no mo frame Nkrumah say how can this tiny boy from Nkrumah rule Ghana? How can this Donko we a baba be Ghana president? And in and no ne I edit honum. And this is how far some diabolic and sinister mindset and kofobi fire Eddie Abidru has seen. Their dastardly act has rendered us this current situation we find ourselves in. How do we then extricate ourselves from this perplexing and complicated issues, no? And now, as we speak, Ghana is at the crossroads, as John Mahama put it about 4 or 5 months ago. Ghana at the crossroads. Why is Ghana at the crossroad now? It is simply because of some people's sinister and dastardly mindset act they did to Ghana. And none of the about be drew her. What's young kwa no time? Near time like or sa wasa na or the two essen. And they thought Nkrumah was Ghana's problem, and so they were removing Nkrumah from the scene so that Ghana will have a peace. Later did they know that Nkrumah was Ghana's happiness, Ghana's joy. I'm not here to paint Nkrumah as an angel, but Nkrumah's handiworks, Nkrumah's contribution, Nkrumah's, legacies are there. They are plethora. They are ubiquitous in the country called Ghana. Everywhere you go, you will see Nkrumah's projects. He's the only president or the bottom sika esi school at the Ghana. All the ordeal, the struggles he went through in the United States of America to go for his further studies, no, or washing chance or come ship moon, Jojo no at the time Nkrumah cool schools to America that Brennan and African Americans need brepow. There was no or there were no opportunities na yedema almost in 1935 to 1945 or the few 10 years American men. At that time, America was still it was still in the process of developing. They hadn't finished their developmental agenda. And Nkrumah went through the mill from US 10 years or call UK for 2 years, 1947, 48. Now, Oba Ghana, no? Oba Ghana, Omo beye sa UGCC ni nyoma no. Ni sika edwuma kakra ye o US abonten so. Eni edwuma kakra okọ London so ye. Eni adofo bi mo a ode maaye no. When Nkrumah returned to Ghana na ohwe the way ya abrofo ni si treaty student omo achimota. And before Nkrumah got the chance to be the prime minister, no, not the whole education echoes will go coast, no. Say education budget, no, a be a bear say 60,000 Ghana cedis. And I say emphasis 100,000 Ghana cedis. Ye chemu miensa, mienu, ye de ma achimota school ninkwa, ansa na ba kope, ye de ama the entire school say wo the Gold Coast colony, or I say Gold Coast honing in her. So Nkrumah Band also what? Into Oko Cape Kusa, Ghana National. So tias here, Ghana National no. A debate of friend Ghana National, a yomi nina ni eko, and Nkrumah did the pocket money in the Sisa Cape School no. He's the only president. When Musa say Nkrumah free akunya so ni fear o see yes say ne ma emfa ewe hin. Onipa na mutwa antroto nso o mensia ahemfie ema baafo akutu emutna ase bo pose ye massa donko we ye massa kurasini boy we enkrofo ni akura ketwa we mo totofiwa we emama medi yeso no akutuka no medi Ghana so no ene ye ne kutuka mo bedi Ghana so no ene ye ne na nye omanye ajimifu mu a eye den a nation record the first point of entry obi ra omanye mu a ura no mimu ansa no de ra omanye mu. That is why as mo hwa ameniano oti hwe unye pie free Ghana pe na wa adwemu abie the moment abesan kwa ko ura Ghana pe na kro no na abehye wutirim onim ne ndia ya bo wosufa nkwasiafo din mu akromfo din mu nation records din mu ne ye bo wosu ofamu na udi ura kro ni mu ene ne ye bre into most nipa no akowini contract kese one duru kutuka na no adane jimifo because a hona jimi ejosu ni wo say kutuka wo Air Force hono mintini yemfa ne din to so. Now what about say obi obeye president no na kutuka sa Accra airport na eye military we na say Air Force na British no use for soldiers. And Nkrumah beye president no and no converted Sadian into international airport. Enti de ono ebe converted ade ani ayama soja for kitu bi. Ode ba so obia me use bi. Any obia obebo command chrono na the reconnaissance barracks are ewu omo say ye two Nkrumah 66 no omo be fight back into a tutu mu no and a two ball kutuka ewo Air Force base one ewo airport honom na no enunti o se ye dinidin atoso ade ya or ye gallant or like omo friend say in the posthumous reward, and then say, ya din to so, and ya immortalize Kromfo, ya immortalize a nation wrecker. Ain't you surprised? Munina mo yemun shemo. Munina nyam mwa. Amika Cabra Samo kind on ye. We freedom fighters, we do not mourn the death of a man, even a man who was comrade and an exemplary revolutionary. What is man? And I can say, because as President Ahmed Sekou Toure often says, what is man in front of the infinite being and transgression of the people and humanity? We do not mourn the people of Ghana scarf in its most beautiful realization, in its most legitimate aspirations. We are not crying for Africa. We are not crying for Africa betrayed. We are mourning, yes, of hatred towards those who were able to betray Nkrumah to serve the ignoble imperialism. Mr. President, Africa, by requiring through the voice of the people of Republic of Guinea, as always fairly represented by President Ahmed Sekou Toure, whom Nkrumah had put in his right place on the Kilimanjaro's highest summit of the African Revolution. Africa rehabilitates itself and through history. President Nkrumah, which we honor, is primarily the great strategies of the struggle against classic colonialism. He is the one who created what we call African positivism. What he called positive action, affirmative action. We pay tribute to the declared enemy of neocolonialism in Africa and elsewhere, the strategies of economic development in his country. You see, so and same way Amika Cabra Etroya, the cancer of betrayal. The cancer of betrayal. Tu Nkrumah, Nkrumah kodi Sekou Toure krumu a owu ye no. Tributor Amika Cabra, wa unim Amika Cabra no. Kone kwa hwehwe no, neti no. Most of his books no otro no French na oma translate ana utie audios ni bia or kind of French but ube who subtitles no video, especially uko YouTuber ubenya all those videos. Mo ewo odehye wo mu krumu. Mo wunyansani wo mu krumu, mo se mo mpe na emom no mo beseye no na abonten so for agena baba. Inti okọ Tanzania na ye de Nkrumah a whole university hall na Nkrumah hall egu ho. What is say about Akwaje hall bi wo Togo? What is say about JB Dankwa hall bi ewo Tanzania and now say friends Zimbabwe? But go to Burkina Faso heya ye was street wo ho a your friend Kwame Nkrumah street. Ko Mali, the center, Bamako, Obeko, na Kwame Nkrumah, the giant statue, esi. Look at what they did. Just look at what they did to Nkrumah. Abra you two free ideas no. Yeah.
Our enemies are many.
No.
The megalomaniac who thought he was God is no more. And, to the delight of every citizen, his imagery has been hastily erased. Outside Parliament House, home of Ghanaian democracy, every trace of the dictator's statue is removed. The deserted institute at Winneba, once the base for distributing foreign ideology, is now closed. And the work of erasing unpleasant memories proves to be a labor of love to the troops who perform it.
Sorry. I'm on fan me technical way say BM say mentimi amfa Mr. Mon fan chemi memo be an common samra Mr. Mo. That's why the all of a sudden no amount for a free system so Mr. Mo fan chemi pa. I don't know what happened. Mensa kumia we ma me free feed ni mu. Inti video ni bo wie no na mensa emia we say na ma me free feed ni mu. Ti Mr. Mo amon fan chemi. Inti mo amoko no. Mon samra why Mr. Mo. Umra ni nkomo. Na kura enche bia ebe wie sisi a. Inti munti. Oh, too bad. Too bad.
And now for one last look at the Nkrumah image. He admired this one because it placed his effigy higher than ever before. It was almost as though fate were taking a hand in.
More who statue ya mamin fan kwechi na monsan hwebio. Look at how gigantic this statue was in the era of Nkrumah. In this statue we see what a watten tin. Some to nipa na free so a inti bibini say history. Hey, obibini. Yeah, me say on. It me say a better my sabro for the day nkwa. No mo nko so amfa ye nkwa because you see ye Jimmy for. Oh sorry a. Oh sorry a. Now we call Greece. Now we call Rome. Sir Rome theaters akese a na omoko ho ne sa Colossians ne sade no. So mu bubu ni nyina egu fom a anke nenka obenya ho no ba bia akọ. Look at how giant Nkrumah statue we the way omasia no nipa no said that ye ni ti no and only see some structure bi so a I say statue no u decode ni meaning na ono no all hwe Ghana so nyina inti statue na wa pa and na okwa America bonse obi kura liberty ni si ho e kan simpi na office said the liberty ni kusi ho no France for the man e de che America omo ye to ship mu if France de come out omo no near all the come out e bia na nko no so fort won hu and so they did not destroy the statutes our liberty no and ye twa bibia free America bana liberty no opija ne nsase ya with the torch na unim sa America ho asem ne ye kan and that statue we ewe hefa. Just look at it.
The deserted institute at Winneba, once the base for distributing foreign ideology, is now closed. And the work of erasing unpleasant memories proves to be a labor of love to the troops who perform it. And now for one last look at the Nkrumah image. He admired this one because it placed his effigy higher than ever before. It was almost as though fate were taking a hand in its construction, setting him up, as it were, for the biggest and most permanent fall of his life.
Mini asemo. Boni ani padaseni atna Ghana ho edino no. Etu Nkrumah wi nti ense bibia di books ni ase no. Ni nyina anso ha o, omo sa tata Kwame Nkrumah de ne ko eko Guinea, eko poison no. You know, January ena kutu a champon eye cool no. January 1972 ena kutu a champon ye cool. And kutu a champon motive for the ye cool ni say or kwa kofa Kwame Nkrumah side eh. Aba mana bidi ade. Almost send a koma Kwame Nkrumah. Kwame kache on say onu nya ade obesa ba Ghana ho bi o. So I will never go back to Ghana. Say otiasi onko Ghana da. Na time oti ewo Hanoi say ewo Hanoi wo free oko Vietnam war no oba China no obisi a Mao Zedong mon enie that time no a premier no enie wo a wonim no Nkrumah on the rousing welcomer ye demand Kwame Nkrumah ewo China no. No African leader, no world president kwa ni enya sa welcome no. Ene African leader ben ebe ko China ebe ma manfo abegina ho say omume wewu enye yi. Wo de ube hu wani sunioma ade.
See the fact.
Video na nkasa no ini a friend say audio. Nkrumah call China. Video ni Nkrumah na esi free play more China honom no. Na he rousing welcomer yedema Kwame Nkrumah. The Chinese government as at the time almost sure omukogu airport. They said there ene se broni bi Ghana itimi ma Nkrumah free classroom bi gina kwa hono. Sa na omde ma Kwame Nkrumah. We na Ekufu Addo ni na busuafo no say omo papa no ni we yepe o. She oba bi wo a ofra ntomago enso na wodie ewo abrempon ewo nyansafo oba bi wo a obesoa pa wo pa but akoda obewo na to so anim wo Makola market honom no. No one can change that child's destiny. Ubete opa ma oyere nyemwa koto the best of food a man oba bi o ha onyemwa obesu aduane kura odi onye bini enso ono na be wo ogefo. Hwe mo betimi atre enipa brabo ase. Mo betimi atna mo ahemfie atre se ye bema we aye odehye ene ye ne. Hwe munya de pa mopoye ene the way I yes receive no sa branding nyina no na nipa dasa na iti na ti wo Ghana kutuka almost say or mine. Any. Now, someone Nkrumah say Ghanaians are not timid people. Ghanaians are not timid people, as has been suggested in the foreign press. Far from it. They may be slow to anger and may take time to organize and act. But once they are ready, they strike and strike hard. It pays no one to tamper with Ghanaian freedom and dignity. Kwame Nkrumah ne tro saa asɛm wei. Na saa asɛm wei a waka no, ɛyɛ adwuma wɔ ne pɛn so. Ɔmo tu no. Anche biara na ɔmo yɛ ku UP fo no a ɔmo kɔhyehyɛ soja fo n'akyi mensiafo no a mekɔ Ghana video otumfo yɛ efiri mensia sɛ mo anim sɛ na Kwame Nkrumah na ɔmpɛ yɛ asɛm ɛde bi nti na ma otumfo ka saa. Me say that time Nkrumah yɛ president no now 5.5 years getting to 6 years ɛde nyansa na wo timi a wotimi hu sɛ Nkrumah mpɛ asantefo asɛm na ɛkyɛ sɛ de baafo akoto obeye ochia me ansa na owu 2002 no okeka Kwame Nkrumah ho nsɛm kyerɛ o ɛna ɛhyɛ mu tiri mu te sɛ de ya ka kyerɛ nipa dasani sɛ otumfo ɛna ɛkɔgye loan sɛ yɛmfa nsikigitia ti baafo akoto mu ɛnkwase asɛm a ɔmo keka gu ahemfie hɔ no ɛno bi ɛna ama wo bɛtena hɔ a na ɔkeka mfiri nim asɛm Kofo nso sorry betena ase a Kwame Nkrumah nim na osisi factories bebre. Hwɛ unim the secret nti ase ya ye for orchestrate ye etu Kwame Nkrumah no say they saw the advancement and Nkrumah and the Soviet Union for no day. Aya na Nkrumah eba beye sa nuclear reactor station no. One, Nkrumah de catch almost on the beye nuclear reactor station senior de beye into energy production, but the hidden agenda was that Nkrumah who say okromfo obi a wabo ade a wosuo no say ade tia obeba wo fi no na waboa ho say oba obetimi ahwe no. And you ask yourself, why is it that always the America is chasing, looking after, or just poking their noses? They are making the case about say country be a nuclear weapon. Adentia, America. What is the backbone of America's economy? Any gold, any oil, any tanks, your cast tanks are the backbone of America's economy. No, any true, any akondia, into or POB beer, or your eagle. You see, totems, emblems, mascots, they have meanings. And it's all called na Nike for your logo. Go and get the meaning of the logo. Or trademark, no. You totems. Kraboa, or say, ye a biana for the ya kraboa ne kramaya, ijetiana no. That is a totem. Emblem. Your symbol. As you say, America, I didn't know the eagle. Ena atu omo eyini so. Eagle, owim, oba asase so be fa asase, na so de boom. When it comes to military power, so a strength, you say America enim wiemu ntokwa ede eko into obi onim wiemu ntokwa kono ugina soro usane ya na eba oso, but wo otokosro gravity will continue to work on your what effort, but ono no wosoro e de se o ugina bronsan so no bi gina form na de ugina form ne se oto boabo anywhere ugina bronsan so why ne betimi plan yonko kese anase kane e wo form ho. the backbone of America's economy is ammunition. In a two second bomb, nuclear weapons, and no more use. Na Nkrumah aye be 90%. Unim or the one scientist be Nkrumah time na ono na ehwe KNUS so. Your friend Robert Patrick Balfour or the Nico Soviet Union homayo so onko sua senia yesi ye sa nioma no. Enu ntimo hwe ya amanfo try Niger for president sen compeso mo assassinating no quickly and fufu buanyi ebe accuse Nkrumah say Nkrumah kwa Chinese mercenaries aba say omo konko assassinate Niger president. Until na a build up say ye dey build fantastic case e dey aton Nkrumah so na yetimi ede aba betu no the same process no the same procedure no and a need to for use ya omediko two brother I friend Mohammed al-Gaddafi. They started building falsehood and almost started Arab Spring from Tunisia, but the target was not Tunisia, the target was Libya. The target was Libya, but how do we get to Libya? Unim said, when they plan to kill Nkrumah or to overthrow, the British Nika say, omo assassinating Nkrumah. And America for the car say yeah assassinating no a that obvious. Intino. That's it. Either say ye be cool dear to know. Inti America for no na to UN no more catch Nkrumah say omra Vietnam na ombe intervene the Vietnam War no. Oye okono na the Northern Command from Kumasi no. Akwesi amankwa frifa ene Emmanuel Akwesi Kutuka omu hia Kumasi a omu aplane enti Nkrumah tu na ase akono na oma ibibia enti Nkrumah koye na no take control over the state agencies no, and so they mass up the force from Kumasi and no more the echo pa oma sheri. That was the master plan. You will not get this thing anywhere. On this platform, Ubenya. Nkrumah, enunti ni audio ba akubi. Osi mama mu maye free hasi program hasi nko. Let me look. I think that video should be here. Me pena me famamo. Should be here. I think so. Seni hadia, then I got to make a kopeno baby fufu. I think seni ha. Nkrumah, the section address or the African Union no, Organization of African Unity no. Omuko shia no. Osi mama mo maye free program yase say ye kwa abra ye ni one military command. What do you say? Mama maye free hanko abra ye ni one military command. Nkrumah inti na or try say yibenya military commander a base a tiny country because or betwasha Africa so e ukrubi so quickly no on me respond. And no na yen nya omode ye NATO no. North Atlantic Treaty Organization no. And no na abisi honum no. Nkrumah, when Nkrumah was preaching unity no, Nkrumah was not preaching that Ghana and Burkina Faso yenkamu new Kuba ku. Na or the European Union for na Germany jina brani, Belgium jina brani, Switzerland jina brani, but they are economically and ideologically united. And they are fighting a common cause. Why? They are from one ancestry. And so we should be each other's friends say keeper. We should be our brother's keeper. That was the agenda. Afi Nkrumah ene Congo Patrice Lumumba a year contract because Belgium na omo supply Manhattan uranium bebree and onim say the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bomb no omo to ye no uranium no omo nyaye no a Belgium for na ekotu omo fa no fo efri Congo na omo akotwama sa Manhattan America omo akotwama omo and non be no more the year bomb they could destroy Hiroshima and Nagasaki no. Into Kwame Nkrumah say we have this thing that can protect the whole of Africa ewo Congo. Adenti na ye ma ho abefa. So obi catch us the intia yitu Kwame Nkrumah free akonya nso a. Hu say ye ntu Kwame Nkrumah free akonya nso a. Akwa no be ma Africa backbone bia. Se enkofu no be hu sa principle ne wo wiase say sa kind of you be suzerain powers no or Nkrumah na all control. It has always been on the ticket of these Europeans and Americans to have suzerainty over Africans. Tembiano omu pese omu ti omu krumu na omu control. The British use imperialism. And another word no that they try to be suzerain on you. In this economy nkofoni timi omu atu. Omu timi the technology be omu tu na yinim dia omu de sa technology no a ebe high, and that is why the biano America or Kasa, Iran, North Korea, India. As we speak, America for new technology, North Korea for the omutu, Iran for the omakodie, and untino okohwa no asamba neti. Untumi nko Iran full, untumi nko North Korea because onim ni ankofo na dey aye. Me say Europeans they damn don't fear anything apart from say omu say military techniques be and strategy be they don't know and no kwa no musuru because omu need resources back okra gidi. What they use, they have tanks, they have warships, they have submarines, they have stealth fighters, they have all manner of gadgeta yediku. That is why America continues to build the strongest and then the efficient armory. In the Sewunimua, and Nkrumah said, any Patrice Lumumba, bra. Listen, in Titamo Mutu Nkrumah no.
Hundreds of pounds upon and exploit our every weakness. We want, therefore, to develop our own community and an African personality. Others may feel that they have evolved the very best way of life, but we are not bound, like slavish imitators, to accept it as our mold. If we find the methods used by others are suitable to our social environment, we shall adopt or adapt them. If we find them unsuitable, we shall reject them. Fighters for African freedoms, I appeal to you in the sacred name of Mother Africa to leave this conference resolved to rededicate yourselves to the task of forming among the political parties in your respective countries a broad united front based upon one common fundamental aim and object, the speedy liberation of your territories. Don't let us also forget that colonialism and imperialism may come to us yet in a different guise, not necessarily from Europe. We must alert ourselves to be able to recognize this when it rears its head and prepare ourselves to fight against it. This mid-20th century is Africa's. This decade is the decade of African independence. Forward then to independence. To independence now. Tomorrow, the United States of Africa.
That's it. Maybe one other video being so the account mama. Away.
66.
Yeah, no, anyway. Yes. Now, Nkrumah published a friend John Neal. Last time he bought a video, no, on other can't show. Or no, also any facts, no, but yeah, what facts, no. Nkrumah was poisoned, or Conakry, into old, no. Okay, or no crab, or so go home, Nkrumah, no. Na Nkrumah, the nine, I had to said the JP. I had to said the elephantiasis. Acheno, the Nasia tatai, Nkrumah nya prostate cancer and skin cancer, Nkrumah ewu no, na ne honama ye white to say clay. In the 27th April 1972 wu ye no. And say me catch him say a champion be the idea January 3 months pepe 3 months pepe and Nkrumah ye day or the wu ye na a champion idea in answer ko fa Kwame Nkrumah ba or friend or say am ankasa ma afina infantini kacho say wa afina ono ankasa wa bre 1st August 1962 ho baby Kulungungu upper voter you try and bomb you try Kwame Nkrumah bomb over 6 times and Kofono were that omo callous and reckless and heartless and just say all the less it me could try and Nkrumah so omo penekun omo anyane nkuno no young pioneers in more franket and kitting nano omo kun womo Accra Lucas House Lucas House eho omo koto bomb ho omo anya Nkrumah no ikunkura akura ba ko na ote abronsan nkomu vibrities ano ni yemsi no free abronsan ne be hwe honom no eno ani ti bo honom na itimu apai just because you too Nkrumah na ya makofia brifa buzia ya ji independence or no faship ko catch when say Ghana is not yet ready for independence. was shut on my dreams. I kill on my dreams. What to me? I say on my dreams. I say, yeah, I say typically, obia ye video bia no so ye critical or can't sem no na kwa kusimensia. Unim ni ntia. I say, ababe ye say, otumfo, ye kase otumfo a, enye specifically said your tiwe you. And the title na the obabet na akunya no so bia no, se oyo otumfo a, se oyo poku are no bekwa akofo, se kwaku bia no bekwa akofo, se ose kwame no bekwa akofo, se ose bunsu no bekwa akofo, ni nyina na ye fre no otumfo. Mwa ya ma sa dent no ebeda so na ebeda so ache na nkofo we mu ayi a friend is ayi konfa no che ka kire wo mo se nkofo we mu de me yema wo mu nyina na omo sa de machi wade na e kama no ye kase ye ka obi ano a ye poison no poison wi ye se okọ akọji owu safo aba na ye ji owu safo anga konfa no che no no ba hai because waboa mo ama mo age tumi afiri de nkyirafo no ho awia sikadwa kofi na afiri de nkyiraman mu ho e de aba enti no monim se daache no obesa de tumi no akwa akomo obi foforo nti yen kele no dream killers na wo kele konva no je no ewi ye no nya wo na wo se kire wo ba bia nipa nwinuru ye no onipa dasani oye Ghana ni ne wo na mo a na ono di kan adwen ama wo enu nti na mada de biada no woni Ghana ni na mo na oyo obone because na adwen ne se wani kan anya wo a wo be ye no enu na ma before we don't progress and we will never progress if we continue to hold on to this kind of mindset that we have prejudice mindset. We have sinister and diabolic plans and schemes for people. Baby, I will be in Ruyano on Nadam Funo. Hey, I get ya what I freak or doing it, and him say, Quaquid no dino. Oh, Musa, what down for no, you Musa. Hey, the we will see friend in the he says any crew to quiet on one coso. And Nuntino, onya, the believe planning with the trimono. No, I can't say, hey, Quaku digano. Your planning, no, I can't pepe. I feel now best set time and 10 million answer. Quaku, any ababa one will be and so a beer, a ye now for cat fatike, and a da omontem. Your boy ya dream po efu bi honi asai no kwata ye ni difo mu wo eho Kwame Nkrumah wo wia Ghana sika Kwame Nkrumah amakrobas do say ato ejira to good bed ye ko hwehwe ya asem enye no kre falsehood fallacies nkwantro akohwisem yen keka nsem si so ema ne nya adwuma emfa ngu animu ase number 1 ena omne ti wo no kejitia wan ne si ye kejitia ye na otumfo de meto so am sorry ye na otumfo de ena okoje ebisa no de besi kejitia ene ne yatimu nne no saa brabo no edidi Kwame Nkrumah no eno an ye san didi enyansafo mo baye mo no na ye bekoso abre won say ti said de yitu Nkrumah free so say Nkrumah na e Ghana problem no omo mo be fa Ghana no omo de Ghana call nachi enye no bi na ado aye no you omo gu Kwame Nkrumah ni mu asia Kwame Nkrumah mame nya ne ba say aw Kwame fa one man ma won wo se wo papa Liberia ni aw fa one man ma won Kwame fa ma won Kwame say be bia kane nyankopon se me informa ni nuru no me nyamfa wo mo nuru ho menim se den de na nsuma ne nkakra o se mutu no no mutu Kwame Nkrumah fi akonya no so no na o se see the mighty ocean see the mighty voter a friend say Akosombo Dam. It wasn't only the dam na obe you. The planes are not a ben Akosombo any Volta Lake no. He was going to use planes no to revolutionize agriculture or revolutionize agriculture in Ghana. From there, no quite pond dam no or starting here plan the dia and nam say na Ignatius could do a champon or nim Kwame Nkrumah system ni adintino or buy no or the nice what they say ye befa Kwame Nkrumah kwani so na Kwame Nkrumah video okay or say we would do the things our own way, not any slavish way. Be say yet mo de and quantity mo ye mo nyoma no sa ne enso be nyoma debi. We gonna do it our own way. Inti a champion by now or say Ghana goes right. Inti Ghana afidi drive right. Yenko drive left z the UK for driver left no. And the imperial system of measurement in Yefrimu and about the metric system of measurement. But now no send ye kika ounces any pounds ne wine no nearby centimeters, meters, kilometers, kilograms, and those kind of phenomena. And or follow say obedi Kwame Nkrumah plans and so and no be free more from operation feed yourself. No, it was a whole package. Then yes, operation feed yourself because of the numerous factories and Nkrumah, no, we needed raw materials. Yes, raw materials need be initially no just a crack. And Nkrumah was laying the foundation to make sure say any item be produced in Ghana no about 70% of raw material no you be produced in Ghana and your job creation no. Inti or the sita baby bebre okosia yam yogo ewo upper Volta no oba na kulungungu omoto no bom debe no call that time no na our idea say obesi Bogatanga meat processing factory Ghana for ewo a friend is a nentwiu nanso so oko the typical Sahel areas no Niger, Chad, Mali, honum noa. Omo anentwi na akese more. Burkina inti oni omo link up. Na watwe ma ba be remu. And Kwame Nkrumah's main idea for unity no was to make Ghana the trade hub, the economic powerhouse of Africa. And Ghana would have become the mitochondrion of Africa's economy. You can say mitochondrion, and that's a mitochondrion. Mitochondrion is the powerhouse of the cell. Offer the cell of any organism. The powerhouse, the cell no, a mitochondrion. The mitochondrion no, a ho. And now ubenya genetic material na ewo chromosomes ni mo ayo DNA no deoxyribonucleic acid no et mitochondria ni mo no mitochondria no power bibia and no na yi bibia ni control. Without the mitochondria no forget it. So the agenda was to make Ghana the economic mitochondria of Africa. Now, if we say, me me champion yenkambum. Yes, me the capital no ebe mamu ewo Addis Ababa, but economic ideas no ebe ba Ghana, and a lot of people were from Ghana to come study Nkrumah's ideas ewo. A friend say Winnie Baho Kwame Nkrumah Ideological Institute no say at the end twice na other countries no omo ba in a way no omo ba no betua school fees enye Ghana economy no na ibumi no ye ko Harvard say oko further studies na oko tua school fees no enye America economy now this kushim. And in those days, no, na other African nationals are no more Ghana musuade no. Na fantastic because Ghana near war the best of teaching or the pedagogy teachers who mastered in their pedagogy. You can say pedagogy, the skill for teaching. So we know you can never build a nation. And unim adwene ya de build the crew. Yemfa law nko adwene de build the crew. Yemfa science nko adwene de build the crew. Yemfa religion nko adwene de develop crew. Yemfa traditions nko ane de. And what's up person develop crew? Your special mind and kophobia omunim bibia bi kakra. And they are conscious of the environment omo fani omo self. And anything obi hu bia na a trigger na adwen no saa nkofo no onamo a Kwame Nkrumah tukwa no ko hu ade we bo ha oba no abayi bi Ghana okwa no ko massive bayi bi o ha irrespective say ono abo brasin wo so waye de ohu say me makoma nim so ba ade a waye nyansa wo mpe na Nkrumah watapo saa adwen no e de de chichiri kru into so hwe Nkrumah onim science onim religion onim African history no enunti no all the aspect all the angle obefa bia no Kwame Nkrumah dey eseho. And that is why the guy was able to come up with his own ideology of conscientism. Unya bo conscientism na no they will attribute it to Kwame Nkrumah. Conscientism. How Nkrumah was trying to move the feudalism and capitalism to a scientific socialism. And Nkrumah said, I'm not going to practice the socialism China, Vietnam, Russia, Germany at the time. No practice no. Maybe the na me ba be practice no your friend of scientific socialism. Unim di ntia or mefa emotions and because Nkrumah did not rule Ghana with emotion intino or the Tibu Dako or the Nanka Bruce or the Nana Ayiribi Aka of Winneba or the Akuku Dampia na omoye na town for omo penekuno or some free omo di omo bese na memono Emma Tibu Dako eko da kuku board ano Nana Ayiribi Aka or man position and so no nyina no fight against ono. It do maybe almost try Kwame Nkrumah omo no Ajimai Prempe the second I know you two for I know wo asante hene no ono no de osagefo no Kwame Trichi no Kwame Trichi ono no de osagefo no ma Kwame Nkrumah e wo mensia because ono hu sakwa no oye honhom no nam ho no nyese honhom say spiritual ye ka se honhom ai pese o che se enoma na wo ye no e bro adwen ne ntiase so. That is why I say akwa video or your home or your bosom. Yes, say or your frama would dimi dani to there be a figurative a friend be say any hani asem say akwa we didn't it doesn't mean say or your jata but ye per se ni subano and ye personify no ni subano and a ye de ye ha ye near day aka try now more into me. That is the power of Nkrumah. Akra was sending my mieti. Na ne mami si nsumu. Na ne mami enatia ayisono. O sending my mieti. O say, mami, utia felezo. A feleno ye fish. And all catch oma ne mami say wet ya fish. So a man for say a meat. Una afan say a meat. And kofobi connected with nature. And they are mentally sound and pure. Say boni ni na kumemu, and they are able to understand. And until I say or comfort only oba yes oba no ne koda why boni o. The moment you begin to have affection with a man, and now say nye oba or your back now your comfort now start to say unya affection, and now say some relationship with the man, you veer off your focus, unya attention, because odophobia ba wabrabo mo e de sene na usinya time ehwe bibi no odo time kwa akoma enipa bi untimi focus nie. Those days you needed to be that kind of person or exhibiting high levels of concentration senior ubitimi atuni an acting your mass enunti na omutimi ne na omutimi nature connect. So ukura adwen pa ho ene na nanka say ukura adwen pa kra ye tu aduru nyawo, because enyoma pa na ewo mu no ade boni bi no bitime gina no. Kwame Nkrumah meka se nya ne subi bia yebet enyes ye nya ono ne subi yebenya de oso sen no aba na yenam kwan mu yeba, yenam kwan ni mu no yeba na akesefo bebre eba na emum no awiye ne se enkwasiafo no bekoso asisi akesefo ne kwan ya yebebre se akesefo no enkwasiafo no bekoso asisi akesefo ne kwan dia yebebre. Kwame Nkrumah oye di obetumi ne breno na ko University of Science and Technology na ye mawaduane di oya branch na wo yire ansa na wo ku school na wo yire tim be da wo nchen wo dan mu nko na wo dem omo amoko ye no amoko anya asa enjoyment no busa se omo atimi aye nsese ya ato ama wo enne edan na Nkrumah si ya na obi ne girl ebi ne yire ene demu no enne wo Kenya University hodmo a ye the bank beds ye ka se bank beds bed now be that slow be that form no ba ko tare ha ena ba ko tare ha inti nipa 4 ena te sa dan fia ne mu ansa na ye wonkofo bi a omo anya sika me han sa dan ne bi wo ye from purchase omo ba no ma ba be ka se minua aya kwa wona me fa mattress entomo form ase na mnye dey menna nti gboko ne nipa be se 8 egudan a Kwame Nkrumah siye ede ma nipa baako ene be bia ne ekoma nipa duane free yedie yetu Kwame Nkrumah 57 years ni 1956 no 66 no 57 years ni Kwame Nkrumah boa ye je fa hodie free obroni nsema aye no this year na 66 years ni. Hwe photo na me de kire mu na Nkrumah call China no hwe na China kro no amanfo te bicycle so kra ne yede ye twi.
A handful of courageous Ghanaians led a coup d'etat, which resulted in the overthrow of Nkrumah's dictatorship. The events of the days that followed are now part of history. Our country is
1960 60s no Kwame Nkrumah call China no bicycle so and ye public a year enne na that time no buses na ye adwuma wa Accra na bi ni omo nse da ni proper one or China ho enne no ade atwa butu China for de abobu ya na abreye China for e de Prague ya na abreye ene omo aba be fa ye bus no Twebutu. In the Kwame Nkrumah kosa kruwe mo na se China for ensini wo form. Na se na omo worship no krum ho no a. You ask yourself, say, what did the people at the time see in Nkrumah? What did they see in Nkrumah? They no hu no Nkrumah mu a omutimi man sa overwhelming welcome. Because Jimmy Phobia Betran has say, hey, listen, there's difference between theory and implementation. I become so angry when little useless fools are talking about Nkrumah 1950's ideas and compare them to our 21st century digitalization time. Minya osi ye kan Nkrumah ho asem ye Jimmy fo no. Me ka bibia chiro. Before any country can move from the analog stage to a digital stage, means that you have to first go through the analog stage. If the people had allowed Nkrumah to continue with the things he was preparing for Ghana, we wouldn't be where we are now. In his 1951 ideas, sa ideas na China for building upon and a say ye. No one is saying say yenko for 1956 machines and farmer mepam 2023 in that year. No one is saying that. What we are saying is say ye ne wo honum dadawo. The then ye free biana so be hwe from ene ye pese ye fro na ye pese ye fro no mpo ye hu kwan no ye mfa somfo. What stops us from going back, recollecting and making amends, making adjustments in the documents of old to suit the contemporary times, Oba mo brofo kra mo tro no muntimi tro ma ye ntia asiye no ma ba no ma be keka nkwase asem because we a political party bi ni nti wagimi na China for trans ya could do so ye do 2023 ansa no mo sha ase. We want to tell you the history so that unless a China mpaboa de brewa enye ne na China ye dey e sha ase onu nyina sha ase pe. Minipa baako oye adwuma o Ghana Audit Service. Almost omo ko Japan, Texas ne akosomo textiles ekoye auditing. O say sewing machines and wo akosomo textile ho no. Machines be pre ne mumu no. Best 5% of some machines no and ye adwuma. And so afi bi omo kokoye auditing ho. And now see Jomua, also China for Newman the airful, airfare, precision, no, na Ghana for the nyefe. It is all because machines are already yeno. Obi Shase introduce Ghana to the right process and ye truncate no. O si wuni nyansa because wakotna obroni man so ema omo de ye nkwasi adwuma ntino. You think you are okay? Na busa ho se eni se abrochire bia ni wankasa ni nkebisi aboyebra. Have you asked yourself? Minia wote a wohwe me a wopen koto asem na wotan koto America ho na wote busa se anke kuro bia ni ho no atisa America ene kuro mu wiase nyina te se Ghana anka se na anka wo wabra bobeye. That's the question you have to ask yourself. And ne obi I go through the mill and the achichi ni crew and na wote wona adu crew eye nkwasia de we free ha no be president ya yenta na chi we free emu no be president ya yendi nani enye mahama so ne hyase enye jeji e hyase Kwame Nkrumah so ena abesinne ena etoa so ini se nipa ne ba na oya de ma okra o se da bi kofo ne hyase. You see, Mimianom, mama be ya dream. Wow, sending such stupid message ni busawo. So see yentimi nko Kwame Nkrumah 1950s ideas more. For Kwame Nkrumah 1950s ideas no. Efatu president yenya abesi wadam ni ya otisu iso no fatu ho se hwan na otimi dwen kwa akiri etese wo no. In our political history Nkrumah echi no Ignatius Kutu Echampon eba ofiri wa John Dramani Mahama onti ase a obetimi akwa akoshepo number no enie na before no ti.
Then one day you hear he's not very well. One day you go and he's okay. Next time you go, he's not very well.
Well, I noticed everything seemed to be pretty well all right till 1968. He was in terrific health then. Although I was a bit uneasy because within 6 months of his arrival in Conakry, the cook that he relied on so much and did all his food for him, which he always travelled with, Amoa, I think his name was, or Amua, I'm not sure. Yeah. However, he was dead within 6 months. Yes, he was a fit man. I think he was helped on his way, to tell you the truth. But after that, Nkrumah's food was not safe, really. The various cooks came out from Conakry and so on. I can't prove any of this, but I have a strong suspicion that Nkrumah was poisoned in the end in a slow, nasty sort of way. But Amoa was probably the first casualty, I think, because he was a fit man, and then suddenly he's vomiting, he's unwell, he's taken to hospital, and they said, oh, he's got cancer, you know, and he's dead within 6 months. It was really inexplicable, but after that I felt very concerned, really. There was no check on his food, really. Cooks were coming up from Conakry, and of course, in those days, the American embassy was open. I heard since, I didn't know at the time, that one of the cooks that came had been working at the American embassy. But he was very fit till about 1968. Then I began to notice he's losing weight. Inexplicably, he seemed to be eating all right, but he wasn't so well as he had been.
So by 69, 70...
69, 70, he was losing weight, yes, and he was having stomach upsets. He never had trouble like that before.
But he was a very fit man through it.
Very fit, yes. I think that one of the Vietnamese or Chinese doctor, I think it was a Vietnamese doctor that attended him mostly when he was in Conakry, said he had the blood pressure of a young man, you know, when he was first there, but there was this rather slow deterioration, and quite noticeably about 1970, he was definitely a sick man. And he wanted to really to get a medical checkup in Moscow because he had great faith in Russian medicine, and he didn't want obviously to go anywhere in the West. But it was the unfortunate time because the Russians were hobnobbing with the West. It was a time of détente.
Yes.
They'd opened an embassy in Nkrumah, and he was told that it would be inopportune, was the word they used, for him to travel to Moscow for a checkup. But they could recommend a very good clinic in Bucharest, and Ceausescu was there, an ally really of the Russians at the time. So he went there, but by that time he was a very sick man.
So by 71, he had to check into the hospital, or
No, but in the autumn really of 1971, he went to Bucharest for a checkup, but he died there unfortunately.
Yes.
Following April, he was by that time seriously ill.
So you saw him once or twice
in Bucharest?
Bucharest?
Yeah, yes, I went 3 times there
3 times.
actually. Yes. Mm.
And each time you saw that he was deteriorating, more or less.
Oh yes. Well, I got a terrible shock when my first visit there. But he had warned me, typical of him, he phoned up and said, we must be courageous, I'm not as you remember me. And I thought, what exactly does he mean? He's probably his hair's gone white or something. But I got a terrible shock when I saw him. He was sitting up in a chair, and his legs were terribly swollen. He said he'd been sitting there for 6 weeks because it was too painful to lie down. And he wasn't. They brought a sort of light meal, but he obviously didn't fancy any of it. And I couldn't get any sense out of the doctor there. No, they wouldn't tell me. I didn't. Well, he had a couple of Ghanaians from his entourage that went with him to Bucharest. Wonderful people. Kwam was one. What was the other one? Oh, Yamike was there as well.
Okay.
You know, his nephew that had been with him in Conakry and always travelled with him. And they said, we can't find out.
Yes, Yamike no. Ne de Beka ho asem dashi. So that's that. Timinia number no no. Furniture wadwin 0240258269. Che wadwin sisi ya ne enkoye ni no. Che wadwin. I didn't baby akasa free.
Hello, Uncle.
Senior.
Assembly who if I bet made Tiancasa. If I bet made Tiancasa.
If I saw any my feed. Mr. Say, way you know when doing now by you were free, Mr. Esa name my feed will happen. I didn't maybe I can say free.
Yeah, I put yours.
Okay, because I'm.
Yeah, okay, that's. Oh, yeah, you're home. But MUP, that party, I'm looking at. Yes, no more too long. This is the say, Grandma, I'll not do one. It's not now, more too long. You know, more, yeah. That is our Grandma, my sleep now, with Jenny, not growing up to now. Yeah, I'm sure. So, what is the sense from them?
A voice no a qua a cut down now, until say we be and to be position here now, Wakasama.
Yeah, do you hear me? Do you hear me now?
Yeah, tone count, but voice no form. This will be position who ye dear.
Yeah, mama from back there.
Mati. T 2-3 calls being found now. Yeah.
101.
Yeah, 101. Yeah, Joso.
Friends, I think it's about time. Also, phobia almost sending a message. They don't think through almost sending those messages. You don't even pay. You shouldn't be paying mind to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you shouldn't be paying. Yeah, we shouldn't be paying mind because those people are already indoctrinated to understand certain information. So say yeah, they spend the time now. Yeah, so actually go for where they are. Because somebody can't fa. Omo Sebi Omona more Jimmy no, Omadi can't fa any more for Jimmy no for Gina. There's no need to Yenny Babach or Modio. What is right? So Kakrams made the best of no.
Yeah, that's it.
They come with Yaba.
That's the part.
Yeah.
Hello. Yes, sir.
Yeah, go to me. Sorry.
Yes, your mouse Simaka because for my.
Okay, you. Asem no, I will go to a point where Kokono or Children was Asem no. No, what is some any more meme, much for Bonnie in Tiffany, Ghana drew. After that, when you know who the other said, I'm found cross over Yenipa. A move was over Yenipa Kurampo. The tourism would you couldn't pass over. Papa Manu, who you're a mania. Actually, as I'm not crying. Well, the baby of it, oh, you can a year pet. What's easy so? You may be a drew, and you're married.
That's it. That's it. That's opening. You're fat or before floor. Nipana ye fan networking yet tea. Always see a time. Unianum MPP no. I am so we more ye me can or moasem. The man may reply and say, a man for peony jade and I make canity. And a normal reply no. Intima catch him and say, Obi ba, me my moon reply no. Mimi who comment be will be a true. In this will be banal reply na. Or my conversation in your day. And yet, Timinia, me my moon wasting no time. Me I made Timia deal well with them cophone. Senior Quava.
Many more Jumapama or my Ghana, when they Kevin Taylor and freedom fighters, no people, but a Binian taking stand, you know, your Mamunina move contribution be I am on my Ghana. Got to one Ghana for now, yet to buy a babet, Tinabu, Chida, Doom Rabia, so be Kenyan Sasama, you better typo. Just because of tribalism, Tini and Nipane Canoni, a typo be PI, but damage Nipane program, no attention now could Nipano Snobestamo, Munya Sadian. We are say addition and a manipa into wine. A Brutana Otino, Mamintro, Mubutu, from almighty Mobutu from Congo. Ubejom nisika nom di ye Congo krobiti se nisika nom di ye krobiti se Brussels, Liège, ni ade. And so ye no ne ma Mobutu ejapade o up to now omo kokko to pra omunyan take stand to it. Nti Nkrumah to kwa brochire se oba besua grofo style na nko ya kwae na hweta man Nkrumah wo ho ene ne a Akufo-Addo ti so no ifo na ebre nti minya no menka mom ni nya isa tribalism type and condemning somebody because na asema see the message no utie wi akoda dwen so mpanimfo se adwendwen wo sumyem ade chi a tubehu tinabia na aboa o man Ghana nti meka me fo se me ja do so aba
Minya
yeah
I met on Kakaza.
Yeah, Kakuchi. What you say, Ghana, Sanyam, you come up my family. I'm a Ghana, yeah, Brazil.
So,
you've been heard.
Ye negative energy is a good so. Now, you're fast, someone else.
Yeah, because the monk of here now, this UUP party is your NPP. Almost a kind of right? It's not true. I'm and so by now, factories are coming from now. Factories here, we are mine. What to pass? I'm a factory. I'm a sincere Ghana. So I don't know. And I'm the baby, and Papa be and baby, and come up and all. Look at 2 years ago, the Mr. was doing passes a Mahama Toya. Okay, passes said, just what?
Mem rain few. And my Ghana need be and rain fi say. I democracy no. A bambi banners will be a project. No a big jai. Say obi sad na sia. Say ya same free JJ Hornum and Marco for Lanky Nims as hard in a day. Ewo Kofo Bano, JJ Cra Cas and Marco Gallopes. Hyundai Castle. Ye mark JJ Marcas Nissi Hornum, a Kofo Marcas Nissi Hornum 8 years. Emi Tremu. Emma Casting in a proye.
So I don't know. I don't think I'm a market that won't be party.
They say,
and it's been continuing.
Oh, and your man fianco for and your man fianco for Bayano Ghana Hono. Yinina near the Diano. Until some Maham about obey mega things actually who says, dear Kofo Bayano, Naya grew no woody. JJ Bayano, Naya grew no woody.
Yes. And you are so smart, and when you are coming, you use one social intervention to say, free head. No.
Oh, sorry. I think say, then can I break here? The best year near finalize it. You see, Sadi win ye. Ye, call for ye, the projecting blown out of proportion. Hey, Massa, oh, ya Santinia, oh, ya Santin, see will be ha. Oh, ye Ghana near, oh, ye Ghana in see will be ha. But the fact in any say, me say, ye at the deal, and ye dedicate issue no. Edima, me nana, me papa, me bibia Kwame Nkrumah. Now that na ye say John Mahama so I could pick a form no. Mo bete tita e wo internet no so. He said yes so say obeba be pick a form no. Wa ko pick it and he see no, or so person we dey. Oko contest it. Oh, afina agro no be shase. Me say die ye be ye bia enyoma besesa no ye be ye. See afina mo bete teta e wo Ghana ho de ye na obi be se comedies ye be pick from me crowd me mfa JJ Nkrumah ye be pick from Kofo abesi Akufo-Addo sector by sector ye de obi a manifesto beto Kofo manifesto ye de beto ho de otimi achieve ye near score. Mahama manifesto. Professor Tamer's manifesto, the ultimate year, near the atom, Mahama, near the atom. Go back to the you'll be here 2 years, any 3 years, any you'll be here 8 years, any toilet, you know. Obeti, you don't miss here. I mean, go be here. At a for Bessensia, which will be here. Ultimate buyer, Beshe, Akramo, bye bye.